from the Digital Media Center on the campus of Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. This is Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English language learners. Here's your host for Ramping Up Your English, John Letts.
Welcome to Ramping Up Your English, winner of the Southern Oregon Television Award for Program of the Year and the award for Best Educational Program. I'm your host and producer, John Letts. Ramping Up Your English is an educational support program for intermediate English learners. It's a program for people from all language backgrounds and from all people of all ages. If you've already passed the beginning stages of learning English and want to reach higher levels of proficiency, this program is designed to meet your needs. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher levels of English proficiency. Our current thematic unit is animals. This is segment 1 of episode 48. In our previous episode, we conducted a short discussion about zoos. Now, we did not engage in the fever pitch attack and counterattack that has unfortunately overtaken public discourse in the United States in recent years. We demonstrated how opposing ideas can be shared in a way that's respectful and enriching. Today, we look at the language needed to participate in discussions. If you haven't seen episode 47, I suggest you do so before you continue seeing this one. Go to letscreate.org and follow the link to episode 47. That'll get you on the 47 page. From there, you can view the previous episode. That includes the discussion about zoos. In that episode, we role-played a discussion with my guest, Miss Lisa, presenting the pro side of zoos and myself presenting the con side. In other words, Lisa was all for zoos, I was against them. In the discussion, pro means for and con means against. Here's just the discussion part of episode 47. I want to welcome Miss Lisa to our program. Lisa, welcome to Ramping Up Your English.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Miss Lisa is going to help us do a role play of discussion skills, and we'll just jump right in. So I'll just say, well, we're friends, okay? So Miss Lisa, what you got going today?
I have a great day planned. It's going to be big. I'm going to take my grandson to the Oregon Zoo.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how he interacts and gets to see the animals. What are you doing this afternoon?
Well, I'm not doing that.
Oh, I'm sorry. At you.
Well, you know, the thing is, I'm starting to I have my doubts. Oh. To me, it seems that, well, I just don't think zoos are good for the animals there.
Oh, right. Well, I remember some zoos in the past that weren't too kind to the animals, but I know that they've done a lot since then. They've made them bigger places, and they've gotten some professionals in, and they're doing some great things at the zoo.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They have really made a lot of positive changes.
Yeah.
It's just that when you get down to the bottom of it, it's still an enclosure, and it's still not really seeing the animals as they are in their natural life.
True. I agree, but where else are your kids who can't travel going to be able to go and see these real animals up close? And you know what? They've come a long way. They've got educational features next to each of the exhibits or areas that they have these animals in. So a lot can be learned, for these young minds. I think that's a positive.
Yeah, well, I mean, learning is important. It's just that I know that when you see an animal in the wild, it's not just walk up and there they are. True. And True. So it's just my own doubts that I'm starting to have. I've been to zoos before and enjoyed it, but I'm just kind of not a little cool to the idea.
Right. I see that a lot of animals, they're not in their natural habitats, but I know that nowadays zoos have brought lots of land and property, so they've really tried to model a lot of the areas for the animals that mimic their natural, environments and habitats. I know it's not the same, but I feel like they're doing some good effort.
Well, no doubt they get an A for effort, or E for effort. The thing is with the enclosures is that it doesn't meet the needs of animals like elephants, for example. You know, elephants roam several miles a day. Well, no matter how much space they give them at a zoo, they're not going to be able to do that. And then I look at zebras, you know, migratory animals. So many zoos have zebras. Well, zebras do these great, you know, 200, 300-mile migrations on the Serengeti. Well, they're not going to do that at a zoo.
That's true. That is true. That's true. I feel for them. You're making me think. But I do know also that the benefit is that a lot of these animals that are out there in the wild, they're being hunted, you know, and a lot of them are going extinct. So I think the zoos, you know, they're giving them a safe place and refuge and like healing them and rehabilitating them. And then they've also brought biologists in, so they're trying to, you know, work with the endangered species, to work with them, getting them off the endangered species list.
Well, you know, they live longer. I mean, we know that from
Right.
facts in captivity. It's just that, what is their life? You know, what's the quality of life in there as a natural animal? So, you know, I used to really enjoy zoos, but I've learned some things, you know, fairly recently, and I'm really starting to question whether zoos are that good of an idea. Even the ones they save, you know, through reproduction and stuff. Well, those usually cannot be let out in the wild.
That's
you know,
true.
so.
That's true. Yeah, what do you do with them right after they've been rehabilitated? You can't let them out. And what are they going to do? Can they live back out in the wild? That's right. Wow, I don't know. That's something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope if you change your mind, I appreciate it. If you want to come out, you know.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And,
Yeah.
and by the way, have a good time. I mean, these are just my own doubts.
Yeah.
There's no reason you shouldn't have a great time with your grandson.
Yeah, I was debating. You're making me think, like, should I take him? But I still think it might be a good experience. Then I can talk to him about those things, you know, like the good and bad aspects of zoo, and see what his take is on it.
Okay, so what we've had here is a real brief discussion about this, and I just want to check in on some of the parts of being respectful. Did you feel I was respectful as the devil's advocate here?
Definitely. Oh, definitely. You didn't make me feel threatened, like you had the right and I was wrong. I appreciate that, you know.
Yeah. So this is a good example of a discussion that is respectful and enriching, because we both learned things. So thank you, Miss Lisa, for being my guest today.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
So it's just a good idea. Now, you can watch Miss Lisa and me on a new children's program called Southern Oregon Classic Kids Show, coming soon to RVTV Voices. Let's look at some of the language we used in that discussion that took place between Miss Lisa and me. There are two main language objectives in the discussion. One is to give your opinion, and the other is to ask for an opinion. Now, let's start with offering your own opinion. First, notice that I listened to Miss Lisa's opinion, and I even validated her viewpoint by saying something to the effect of, "Oh, I'm sure you're going to have a great time at the zoo, especially being there with your grandson." Then I signaled that I'm going to express a contrary view when I added, "But I have some doubts about zoos." I begin by saying, "I just think that." Now, this is called making an I statement. I'm speaking only for myself here. I'm not trying to say that the whole world holds that opinion. I'm just singling myself out and then sharing my view. Most of our discussion was spontaneous and unscripted, so it's hard to represent everything we actually said. Nonetheless, here are a few phrases for signaling a contrary opinion. In my opinion, it seems to me, I've learned that, in my view. Now, you can also invite yourself into a discussion by saying, "I have some thoughts about that," or "Here's what I think about that." Did you know that? Now, for the last one, did you know that? This is where you have to be fair. This is no time to throw in a factoid that has no proof behind it or can't be attributed to a reliable source. It's also not the time for using emotionalism or hyperbole. Remember, you're exchanging ideas, not trying to prove the other person wrong. You should also know how to invite someone into a discussion. You want to do it in a way that tells them that you really want to hear what they think, what they have to say. Here are some ways to do that. What do you think about? How do you see it? What do you know about? Can you tell me more about? It's also important to learn the language of responding to an opinion that's different from your own. Words like, I understand, or you make a good point. That's a valid point or question. That's true. Many times there are different conclusions to be drawn from the same fact or information. You can signal that while acknowledging the facts with phrases like these. That's absolutely true, but to me it means, that's not in dispute, but I see that as, or there's almost complete consensus on that, but to me it proves. In our discussion, we went way out of our way to make sure the other person was validated in their opinion. There are several ways you can do that. I used to see things that way, but I've come to see it like, or that's a good reason for your point of view. It just doesn't work for me, or that's a proven fact. And finally, it's okay to concede that the other person may have a view that's worth considering. Here are some ways to communicate that. I hadn't really thought about it that way. That much I agree with. My concern is, or that's worth thinking about, or I'll consider that. So there are many ways you can use English to invite yourself into a discussion, express and explain your views, and be respectful of others who hold a contrary view. You'll find that these materials that we're using today are at my website, letscreate.org, along with today's episode. Now, if you're meeting with a conversation group, I suggest ramp up that discourse to expressing contrary opinions. As I said in the last episode, perhaps you can help bring back the art of discussion that's both respectful of other viewpoints and enriching to the participants. If so, you'd be doing this country a great favor. That's all for segment 1 of episode 48. We'll return with segment 2 right after this.
Namaste. My name is Kumud and I teach Indian vegetarian cooking classes. It is kind of ongoing. Anytime you feel like, you can please join by calling me. My phone number is 541-488-0575. I have my cookbook out and it is available through Amazon or through Co-op or Bloomsbury bookstore or from me. And I teach with these beautiful spices. They are wonderful in taste, but they are very health giving. So I call it my medicine box. And I make all these beautiful dishes with these lovely spices. I use lots of kind of vegetable. Like in this pulao dish, I've used 10 kind of vegetable. So, you know, without knowing, you can keep on eating vegetable and you feel that, wow, I had such a beautiful meal. People don't even remember that there was no meat in this dish. I teach vegan classes and gluten-free and dairy-free. So any of your needs are there, it is always being taken care of. And if you want to learn anything special, I teach that also. So join my classes and buy my books. Thank you.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English learners. If you're past the beginning stages of learning English and you want to get better at it, you're in the right place. This is segment 2 of episode 48. At times during this unit on animals, we've delved slightly into the world of phonics. We started with the short A sound. Now, these are all single syllable words that rhyme with the word cat. They all have the short A as the medial sound. We have sat, mat, rat, vat, hat, fat, pat, bat, and cat. Now, here's the peculiar thing about English. If you take these words with the short A sound and add an E on the end of the word, it completely changes the medial sound to a long A. That's where the A has the sound of its name, A. On top of that, the last letter, the E, doesn't make any sound at all. It's silent, as if it's not even there. So here are some real words that came from the short A sound words that we showed before. All 6 of them now have the long A sound. So what we have here is we have late, plate, skate, state, gate, and date. So when you see an A in a word, you can't always pronounce it the same way. It depends. The same is true for the other vowels. They won't always make the short vowel sound. An E added to the end of a syllable will make the other vowel in that syllable make the long vowel sound most of the time. English is not noted for always following its own rules. Our instruction on English phonics is and will remain limited. I suggest you visit the website starfall.com. They have great tools for learning the basics of English phonics. That will help you pronounce many English words that you read, and I can't say enough for reading. It's the best way to build vocabulary in a new language or even your existing language. Well, that's all for segment 2 of episode 48. We'll be back with segment 3 right after this.
Is it true that ramping up your English is going to the dogs? Yes, it is. And cats, horses, rabbits, geese, jaguars, and more. Join us in our new unit on animals. Ramping Up Your English is for intermediate English learners from all language backgrounds and all ages. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher levels of English proficiency. Our new thematic unit is animals. This science unit helps viewers advance in language functions that will stretch their English skills and learn a few things from dogs as well.
Openness, trust, faithfulness, loyalty, playfulness, and more. The qualities that we as humans really do need to learn and to have in our lives on a daily basis because they deliver such beautiful rewards.
Ramping Up Your English can be seen on the Ashland Home Network on channels 15 and 115. It's on channel 182 on Charter Cable in the rest of Southern Oregon. Join us for better English and a grand time with animals.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English speakers who want to reach higher levels of proficiency. If that's you, you're in the right place, doing the right thing. This is segment 3 of episode 48. In our last episode, we explored zoos and their roles in making it possible for people to see live animals they wouldn't ordinarily get to experience. Zoos spearhead important conservation programs, and they provide a safe place for wild animals to reproduce, and thus preserve their species from possible extinction. As explained in the last episode's discussion, this function has its limitations. An aquarium is much like a zoo, only for animals that live in the water. Now, one of the best aquariums in the world is in Monterey Bay Aquarium in California. It attracts people from all over the world, and it's deeply involved in its conservation programs. As with a well-run zoo, this aquarium helps people connect with the wild animals of the ocean. Let's watch this video of the aquarium at Monterey. See how many animals you can name.
An aquarium is a zoo for marine animals, those that live in the sea. At the Monterey Bay Aquarium in California, you can immerse yourself into the world of sea life, thanks to huge viewing areas like this one. Without even getting wet, visitors can get to know some of this wildlife, what goes on below the surface, and what lives down there. The most common sound in the Monterey Bay Aquarium is excitement. Let's listen as well as watch some of these intriguing animals.
I didn't even know a ray could do that. Well, you know they like being pet if they're doing that.
Just smile.
Okay. Well, he's blinking anyway. He's putting on quite a show, Liz.
Charming. I like them. But the friends are much cuter. That sounds like
See that, Sarah?
There's that small one. The regular shark. I don't see. Look at the turtle. Turtle? Right there, straight ahead, that big huge thing. That's a turtle? Yeah. It doesn't say turtle anymore. Oh, yeah, it does. It's right there. That's a turtle.
Oh, boy, that's lovely.
Hello, love. Hello, little guy. He's probably thinking, probably thinking, creature. It's got a little tag on it.
What does this tag say? Can you read it?
It's, can't read it.
Oh, he's really great. He loves people, it seems like, or something.
Hello again. He's wiggling his tail. It almost looks like he's dancing.
I hope you enjoyed the quick visit to Monterey Bay Aquarium. If you visit letscreate.org, you'll find links to this and all episodes of Ramping Up Your English, as well as links to the video clips we use. You can also view and even download all episodes by visiting archive.org/details/roguetv. Choose Ramping Up Your English from the sidebar or enter it in the search window. You can also search under my name, John Letts. This is episode 48, and you'll see the date close to April 29th, 2017. You can watch Ramping Up Your English on Channel 15 on the Ashland Home Network and on Channel 182 on Charter Cable in Southern Oregon. Showtimes are 8 a.m. on Mondays and 7:30 p.m. on Thursdays. Channels and showtimes will vary in other areas of the country. Contact your local public access station to see the schedule in your area. I want to thank my director, Denise Ross, and my talented and loyal crew. And I want to thank all of you viewers. All of you help make this program an award winner. Join us next time for Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/roguetv. Join us next time on RBTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.